Hello, hello. Welcome to Courage Becomes Her, where we connect and share real life stories. I'll talk with women whom I love and am inspired by, women who are experiencing life just like you and me. I'm excited for us to gather together and cultivate confidence, courage, and joy in life and work.
We dropped James off, my college student, and we came home and I was fine. I think the adrenaline of like Bed Bath & Beyond, shopping, it keeps you going, right? But then you get home and my friend said, when you get home and they're not in their room is when it hits you. So she was exactly right. I went home, I went into his room and I sad crying. And that boy is amazing. He wrote me a letter. I think he knew I was going to go into his room and be sad. And on the counter hidden was like, Mom, an envelope. So like even thinking about it, I'm like breaking up and it was just perfect. It was like, I love you. Here we go.
That was Stephanie Chen, Chief Legal and Chief Culture Officer for ChenMed, a healthcare company that is based in South Florida and has over 5,000 employees across the country. Over the last 5 years, I've had the privilege to get together with Stephanie for beach walks and delicious meals like the best crab I have ever had in my entire life, and talk about life and talk about transition and to work on the areas with her that she wants to develop and grow. One of those areas that we've talked a lot about is preparation for launching her kids for college. And this year, she did it. She launched her first son, James, off to school. So in today's podcast, we are going to talk about how the transition is going and what she did to help prepare for that transition, how it's touching on her identity, and what is happening with the 3 kids who are still at home and how things are going as they navigate as a family still at home, being one person short. So join me for this just beautiful, tender, vulnerable, and some good laughter conversation that I have with Stephanie. I am so excited to have Stephanie Chen with us today. Stephanie, thank you so much for giving time out of your schedule to meet with me and to be a guest on Courage Becomes Her. So glad to have you.
I'm very happy to be here. I'm a huge Laurel fan. So it's so great to hear your voice and get to talk to you again.
You too. Thank you so much. So when I asked you if you would come on and be a guest, the main topic that I want for us to talk about is because you have now your first of 4 kids who has gone off to college just in the last month. And reflecting back to literally our very first conversation back in 2017, that was something that was on your mind, was already this thought of what am I going to do when my kids go off to college? Like you were already kind of dreading, anticipating whatever the words are that you want to put in there. So just kind of talk us through how are you doing and how has this transition over the last 5-6 weeks been of launching your first kiddo to college?
Yes. Well, let me say to you, if you have a 15-year-old, that's the eve of goodbye, because once they can drive, they are like 2/3 gone. Someone told me that and I didn't believe them, but it is 1,000% true. So I don't know what state you're in if you're listening, but in Florida, they can drive alone at 16. And so that's the first step out the door. So I think you grieve as a mom, like every change and every process, especially if you're like me, like everything you grieve kind of each step of the way. So this one has been a doozy, Laurel, but I think someone else gave me great advice and said their entire senior year, just like get a little bit sad at everything, like let the drama happen. So like last first day of school, like get sad about it. Like last picture in your uniform, if they have a uniform, right? Last first game of football, last game of football, like do it all. And so I did that. And I think that really helped. It was like a death by 1,000 tiny cuts. But I really do think it helped because I was not an unshakable mess on the floor when he was gone. I was sad and I cried and, I definitely, it's still a little bit there. It's only been 4.5, 5 weeks, but I wasn't a mess. I wasn't a complete mess.
That's so good. I'm really happy for you for that. And I love that. I know
I'm so proud of myself.
yeah, I am proud of you. I mean, we've talked about that over the years of you have always been exceptionally good about making milestones important and really like
Yes.
celebrating everything, all, the small things, the big things. So that to me, like, seems like such a crucial point for you to say, like, that's what helped me, to make it better,
It
and
did.
not have a
It
total
did.
meltdown.
And I will tell you, like, Enneagram, like I love talking about personalities, Myers-Briggs. You helped me with a lot of that. Um, when we were in a coaching relationship, but my Enneagram is 7, right? So it's really easy to make like everything fun,
Yeah.
right? Like it's dinner, let's have a Mexican theme, let's play the Mexican music on the Alexa, let's like have tacos, and it's like Wednesday, and my husband like, what is happening? So like, we just needed a little party tonight. We needed a party. But I will say his senior year, we really did. Like I didn't miss any opportunity. Like if he had a day off, I blocked my day off for work.
Mm,
And not everyone can do that, but I had the ability to work Saturdays or work nights to kind of make that happen
yeah.
and really prioritize him. And if he got 100 on a test, I'd book a reservation at a restaurant that I knew he liked. And even if it was like a ramen place, there's a noodle place he likes and it's not expensive. And I'd be like, we're celebrating tonight. Let's go. Like, he did great on
Awesome.
this test. And so we did a lot of celebrations, a lot of moments and memories, and a lot of, like kind of tiny cries, all the way through.
That's so good. That's a really beautiful way to
But
work
I
through
think
it.
I think whatever your personality is, you gotta like lead into it and do what works best for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you still have 3 kids at home, 11, 13, and 15 now.
Yep.
So how are you handling the transition with the oldest being gone, the 3 at home, and school year starting for those 3?
Whenever people ask me how are you handling like 3 kids or 4 kids, I always say not well. And that's like the truth. Like just like yesterday, I drove to one of my daughter's volleyball games and there was a miscommunication in the schedule and I drove to the wrong school and it's pouring,
Mm.
raining. And then by the time I got to the right school, there was like 4 points left and then the whole game was over. And I just like picked her up and we went home. So I'm handling it not well, Laurel. Um, but the truth is, the first thing we did was we changed our family chat. We still have our family chat with James on it, our college age kid, but we have a second family chat that's called Then There Were Three. So
Awesome.
a little dramatic, but also the truth, right? Like now we've got 3. And so that way, our older college age son is not getting the annoying text like, hey, everyone come down to dinner. Or, hey, everyone, Saturday, do you want to go to church at night or in the morning?
Yeah.
Um, so he's not getting those annoying texts, but also like just kind of a little reminder for me, like then there were 3. But we're managing well. We're managing really well. We have figured out we love technology in our house. And I know some moms are kind of anti-phones at some point, but we just have fully embraced it.
Mm.
And so we can send messages to James all the time. We have different apps like Be Real, which is a silly one where you take a picture every day at the same time. Everyone does it. And so we're all friends with each other on that. And we'll see that he's having lunch with friends or that, whatever, Becca's at her volleyball game or, Natalie's with a friend. So we do that. We do, like I said, the family chat. We try to do a FaceTime about once a week, but it hasn't been super regular where he'll call during dinner and like say hi to everyone. I think with siblings, it's so important for the parents to remind the older child that like your kids are mourning too, your other kids are missing you too. And like they don't really know how to talk on the phone. This generation only like chats and snaps and tweets and whatever. And so the FaceTime is a great thing at dinner where I call him, he picks up and he says hi to everybody and encourages them.
That's wonderful.
They miss him too. And they're not as good as like verbalizing that.
Yeah. No, that's so good. Yeah. Are there other things specifically with the 3 at home that you have done to help them with their grieving and their transition?
Yeah, it's great because I think for a lot of people, your first takes a lot of your energy and time just because you don't know what you're doing and it's hard. And also you have like a different bond with each aged kid, right? Each
Mm-hmm.
birth order kid. So it's interesting. We have so much more energy for the other 3.
Hmm.
And we've started to notice things that, oops, we've been overlooking that for a while. We should address that. And then we also have had more energy to like kind of sit with them and get into their hobbies with them and really invest more in them. And our second has really stepped up. Like he kind of knows, he's the oldest now, the 15-year-old. And so the other night, there was like some drama with me and our 13-year-old daughter, and he was great. He's like, Mom, you know what? I'll go in there and talk to her. I'll kind of help smooth things over. I'm like, thank you, bud. So with the other three, we're doing that. And then we mail James care packages. And so I'll say, hey, write a little note to James. This box is going out later today. That's something my mom taught me. So that we do that. And then James is actually really cool. We have this like virtual message board in our house. My husband bought it and I don't even know where he got it. So James can text a message and it's like a bulletin board and it goes on to everyone. So he'll text everyone like a joke or a quote or, I heard, you won your game, John, at football, like great job, and so that's kind of fun. Anything you can do to help the kids connect, I say, do it, find it out, get the new app. I'm always all about what can we do to help everybody stay engaged.
That's so good. I love that. One of the things that you and I have talked about over the years is how easy it is for parents and moms in particular to find their identity through their life as a mom. So
hard questions.
Yes, the hard questions. So talk to us about just how you are navigating, as you said yourself, this is something that you're grieving. It is feeling like it's a loss in some way, shape, or form. So how are you managing just your own emotions, your own identity, through this transition?
I think anything that gets close to touching on changing our identity is so hard. And for each of us, I think it's different. Like some moms, this isn't a touch on their identity. Like a kid going off to college is not that big of a deal. I have 3 more at home. Maybe it'll be a big deal when 4 goes away. Right. And that's a valid response, and I think maybe that's kind of where my mom's at, because my mom was a mother of 4 too. And I was kind of talking to her about it. And she's like, the hardest for me was number 4, not number 1. And so that's okay. Like, that's valid. For me, I'm hoping this is the hardest, Laurel. This has been really kind of hard. I had a neighbor tell me, it's kind of like someone amputates your arm. You just lost an arm and it's a part of you gone. And you forget that it's gone. And you go to put laundry in their room and you get real sad again, And so I think that then there were 3 texts was a big identity change for me.
Yeah.
Realizing I still have 4 kids, but I'm managing the schedules of 3. I'm cooking for 3. I'm like a mom of 3 in the house,
Yeah.
And then also really just tapping into this concept that someone told me, or maybe I made up, to be honest, I don't remember, that my kids are really library books. That are my favorite books, my favorite 4 books that I can keep renewing for a while, but at some point I have to release and not cling to so tightly and so kind of possessively, because really, like I said about the driver's license, that's the first time that you kind of realize oh, they don't need me to get everywhere. And then that when they get a first little girlfriend or boyfriend, oh my gosh, that's another big blow to your mama heart. Right? Because your identity was in them asking you all their style questions and all their big life advice. And now when you give your advice, they'll tell you what the boyfriend or girlfriend said and how it may differ. You're like, what? I have loved you for 17 years. Why are they in this equation? But so I think just all those identity things are tough, Laurel. And me, change is so hard for me, but I think zooming into my identity in Christ, and my identity, not in my job, not in my job description, not in my role as mother, which is I always tell my kids, is the hardest, but most wonderful job I've ever had. But your identity is not in your job. It's not. And it takes a lot of courage to say that, especially as a mom. But my identity is not being a mom. I am a child of God. And that identity, I think, has helped me be an anchor for my soul when I get sad.
Yeah. That's so good. I love how you brought out the component around courage, and that it does require courage to look elsewhere, and in this case, as you said, to Christ for your identity and not to focus on that. So if you can kind of unpack that a little bit more, how does that work for you? How have you gotten to a place where you can have that courage and actively, help yourself to reframe your identity away from the focus being on your kids or your job or your husband.
Yeah, it's like I feel so bad even answering. I'm not an expert. I have not arrived, at all in this department because my identity is very codependent on 1,000 things. But that makes for a very painful life. It's a very painful life if I live like that. So I have realized ooh, it's not super healthy to live like that. So how can I? And then I have realized that, okay, but I can be dependent on God. And so anytime I'm feeling unhealthy or too fragile, I realize, oh, it's because I have tied my boat up of my little heart to things that cannot anchor me and cannot hold me. And it's not fair to ask them to. And so then I have to just redirect through Bible study. I do a lot of Bible studies, independent and with other women, and through Christian music. Oh my gosh. I remember breaking down in the car one time and that song, I am a child of God, just repeating that over and over. I am a child of God, because everything from me can be taken away, but that can never be taken away. Eventually all my kids are hopefully going to launch into life as successful birds leaving the nest. And we'll have other priorities other than their mom, and other people who they need more than they need me. And I will have to be okay with being a child of God and be so happy with that too. And that's the kind of mom I think kids want. Yeah. I think it's really miserable if your mom still needs you when you're 40, so I don't want to be that mom. So I've got to and I don't mean anything upsetting if someone has health issues. I don't mean that. I mean emotionally.
Sure. Absolutely.
Emotionally, codependent on you.
Yeah. No, that's so good and so healthy for sure. So I think one of the phrases that you have said to me and we've talked about before is just allowing yourself to sit in the hard and to sit in the struggle. So how are there any ways that you have found that you do that, or that makes that a little bit less awkward or a little less uncomfortable?
Okay. If any of the listeners out there haven't read the Enneagram book, A Road Back to You, or even just read an article on Enneagram, you got to do it. Laurel made me do it. It's so good. So I am a 7, and 7s are fun, loud people. And maybe they annoy you, but that's my personality, right? It's everything has to be fun. Everyone has to be happy. And so my personality is avoid conflict and sadness at all costs, literally. That is the message to the 7 heart. And so what was hard about coaching when Laurel was my coach, and what's hard about, being a parent and being a spouse in a healthy relationship, is you cannot avoid conflict and you cannot avoid pain at all costs. We can't. And what's hard about being a human is you can't avoid pain at all costs. And so what I have realized though, is by lying to myself and pretending a painful thing is not there is actually just counterproductive. Yeah. And so anytime I am really just trying to kind of distract myself and avoid, and it's hard because I'm the one doing it. So I'm super tricky at tricking myself, but anytime I catch myself doing that, I just assure myself it's okay to be sad. Yeah. I've had a lot of trials in my life. And when I think about them, other people who I love have whispered into my life and said, this is normal to be sad. It's okay to be sad. And actually, one kind of embarrassing, but I think important thing that I did, I was really low. Quick story. We dropped James off, my college student, and we came home and I was fine. I think the adrenaline of Bed Bath and Beyond shopping, sure. It keeps you going. Right. But then you get home, and my friend said, when you get home and they're not in their room is when it hits you. So she was exactly right. I went home, I went into his room, and I sad crying. And that boy is amazing. He wrote me a letter. I think he knew I was going to go into his room and be sad. And on the counter hidden was Mom, an envelope. Oh. So even thinking about it, I'm breaking up, and it was just perfect. It was I love you. Here we go. But, fast forward 4 weeks later is family weekend, which they do it so soon. And so I had kind of compartmentalized and pushed it all down, and I was just fine. And then we got home from that, and I was more sad. Way more sad than even the first time, because this time I didn't have to fight Target and Bed Bath Beyond, customers to get stuff done. I didn't have a project. Yeah. So there was nothing to distract me. And, I just let myself lay in the bed and go to sleep crying. I just let it happen. And actually I was so much happier because I did that. But then like Tuesday comes and it comes back like a little bit like, hey, he's not around. He's not calling. And so, you know what I did? I texted a friend who I haven't talked to in like, honestly, 10 years.
Wow.
We were high school buddies and we have each other's cell phone number. And on Instagram, I saw that her daughter is the same age as my son and she's dropped her off. And so I literally just said, hey, this is so weird, but like, I'm so sad. Are you sad? And she sent me like a page text of all these encouraging verses, all these encouraging words, great analogies about this is a new chapter in life and it's a happy chapter for them. And it was just so great because I think if we let ourselves be vulnerable for a minute, Laurel, we let other people in to help us.
Yeah.
And without that help, we can't do it. Yeah. So even for a 7, sitting in it and letting someone know that you're sad really does help, and so I think I've slowly, as I've gotten older, and maybe a tiny bit smarter and wiser, I've realized this is the medicine you need. You don't want it, but you need it.
Courage Becomes Her is brought to you in part by my coaching, Laurel Emery and Company. And I'm excited to tell you that in the month of October, I have openings for 3 new clients, women business owners or entrepreneurs or business executives. So if you have any interest, please reach out to me. In the show notes is my contact information. I would love to hear from you. And I love that you invited community in a vulnerable way with someone you hadn't connected with. That is so you. That definitely is something you would do.
Anybody who knows you, like whoever's in your phone and is an old friend, you can't make old friends.
That's right.
You can make new friends. You can't make old friends. And so I'm never weirded out if someone that I loved from 10 years ago texts me. Yeah. I'm always like, yay, that was such a happy time. How are you? So I think she felt the same way. And she was so sweet. She literally did text me like 3 pages.
I love that. That's so good. And we need that. We need that community. We need that vulnerability with one another. Those are just, such important components of life and period and all the seasons that we go through. So I love that. Anything else that we haven't talked about that you would share to the other moms listening who maybe are in the same season or getting ready to go through this with their first launch and maybe at the end of this school year?
Yeah. Okay. So I talked about the amputation of the arm. I'd say ask. Everything I'm saying to you, Laurel, I heard from someone else because I'm constantly asking for advice. Yeah. Like I'm always, the neighbor, I barely know her. We literally just walk by when she's walking her dog. But I just said, hey, Jennifer, I know you walk your dog and like you launched 2 kids, like she launched twins. Like, how did that go? Like, what tips do you have for me? And so I ask everyone that. I'll be at a work dinner with my husband and we're there and there's another couple and I'll never see them again, probably. Right. But I'll say like, do you have any children? Yes. And how did it go dropping them off at college? Like, what tips can you give me? And, I glean the best from everything. I've probably asked over 100 people that question.
Wow.
So get advice and like, take the good stuff. There was a lot of stuff I deleted because I'm like, oh, that just doesn't apply, but everything that was worth it, I locked it in,
That's so good. I love that. Yeah, that is something you are always good at, is just welcoming input and advice from others. So
people like to talk to you. People love to give you advice. Like people like to talk to you about their lives and about their kids, so it's a great thing to do.
I love that. Yay. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us and letting us walk through this season with you a little bit. So.
Oh, thank you, Laurel. Thanks for having me on this podcast. I hope I've been able to encourage someone through it.
Oh, I'm 100% sure you have been. So thank you so much. Let's do a few get to know you questions just so that we can have a little bit more who's Stephanie. So we talked a little bit about Enneagram. So definitely you are a 7. What is your love language?
Oh my gosh, I need all 5. I'm the most high maintenance woman. Really and truly, I think I got to have quality time and I got to have, I think touch are my top 2. But oh my gosh, I love gifts. I love acts of service. I don't remember the last one, but I love them all.
Good. Yeah.
Oh, encouraging words. But you know
Encouraging
what?
words. Yeah.
My husband and I have this cool thing where I'll be like, I need a compliment. I'll just say it. I'll just
Mm,
say it. And I'm feeling low, babe. I need a compliment. It has nothing to do with you, everything to do with me. I need a compliment. I said it to him last night.
mm.
And so he's really good. He's an 8. So 8s don't need encouraging words, like at least almost every 8 that I know. And so he doesn't really need encouraging words, but he knows that I do. And so if I tell him that, he always wants to help me. Oh, and I think every partner does. I think your spouse just can't read your mind.
Yeah.
But if you can nicely say what you need, they want to do it for you.
Yes. Well, that's so good. Good. So you talked about The Road Back to You, which I'll link in the show notes for folks. But what is a book that has transformed your life?
Oh my gosh. Huh. Okay. The Hiding Place, Corrie Ten Boom. You have to read that book.
Yeah.
I read it in 8th grade and I'm rereading it now. Oh, life-changing. She actually talks so much about her identity in Christ during hard circumstances. And she talks so much about caring for others and being grateful in like crazy circumstances. Amazing book. Okay. So that one, life-changing book. Huh. I love so many books. I love historical fiction. I don't know if they changed my life, but like, I love them. Like, and so All the Lights You Cannot See is one of my favorites. So All the Lights You Cannot See, World War II. Book, another World War II book. Maybe I should get one that's not. Oh, Where the Crawdads Sing was great. That was a fun read. I read like 2-3 years ago. Good one. Memoirs of a Geisha. It's funny. I was in a weird season where I kind of hated reading. I think maybe because of law school. Like I had just read so many things, like contracts, and so I actually thought, I don't like reading. That's what I would say to people if they say, like, do you like a book? I'd say I don't like reading. But then I read Memoirs of a Geisha for a book club, really just to make friends. And it made me love reading again. So that kind of in a way changed my life because it made me really love reading again.
That's very transformational for sure. Okay. What's something that your current obsession, something you're currently obsessed with?
Oh my gosh. Food or like what? What are we talking about?
Anything. Yeah. It couldn't be food, a show, a podcast, makeup.
Spicy tuna crispy rice. If a sushi restaurant has that, that's like my favorite food obsession. I also love chocolate covered pretzels, but I only let myself have a few. But I love that salty and sweet combo.
Yes.
Let's see. Okay. Well, this is a little bit dirty of me, but I do really like Bridgerton. It's just so great. And so anyway, I love it, but there is, a little bit of scandalous, I don't know, episodes in there. But I like, I love BBC. So like I was big into Downton Abbey. I was big into Poldark, right? And like all those amazing shows. So like I think that just they realized that with that show, and they kind of like got us BBC fans in that way.
Yeah, totally agreed. Okay, so the controversy of that was a lot of people didn't like season 2, like compared to season 1. So how were you on the season 2? Just as good, not as good?
What's new in the world? The 2 is never as good as the 1, right? Like, but come on, it's still so good. If you only watch season 2 and never watch season 1, you'd still say it's like one of the best shows in the whole world.
Yes.
Come on. I'd say Taylor Swift, haters gonna hate.
That's right.
I agree. I think the chemistry of season 1 was like amazing. Yeah. You're not going to get that every time,
Yes. Yeah.
But I thought season 2 was still great. I still loved the Queen. So she's amazing. I still loved, the drama with the neighbors, and it's still good. Still good.
I thought so too. Okay. You brought up music. What was the first concert you ever went to?
This is so nerdy, Laurel. I didn't have parents that really like did concerts, and then I didn't really do concerts. And so my first concert, I was like 22 years old or 23, and it was small. It was like maybe 500 people outside.
Okay. Wow.
And it was the Gypsy Kings. Now I still stand by the Gypsy Kings because like I love their music. It's like Latin guitarists, and they're very talented, but they're all like 65.
Right.
So it's like, it wasn't a cool one. I hate to say it.
No, but that's super fun. That's super memorable.
The best concert I've ever been to is Coldplay. Chris Martin does a phenomenal emotional show. Like he did such a good job. He was in Miami and he gave everyone wrist bracelets, like a white bracelet when you walked in, and then they somehow with technology made them light up. Your arm lit up to whatever color they wanted. So the whole arena was yellow when he sang yellow.
Wow.
And the whole arena was like dancing to the beat, like, you know, with like purple lights flashing, and then it would go rainbow. So, and he, the song Fix You, he was at the piano or at the guitar or something. And then he like went and he literally when he's like singing the chorus about trying to fix someone he loves, like lays on the stage and sings flat laying down. So anyway.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard other people comment that is the best.
And I wasn't even a huge Coldplay fan before that, but now I'm all in.
That's so funny. Oh, I love that. Okay. Best movie or show that you've watched in the last year? I know you just talked about Bridgerton.
We did that. You know what movie I really liked that I thought was so interesting is Molly's Game. Have you seen that?
Oh, I loved that movie. Yeah. I actually put that back in my Netflix, my list so that I can watch that again soon. It was so good. Yeah.
I love that it's a true story. I love a true story. And I love that she's a strong woman. And like, you know, she's like courageous. It's speaking about courage. And it's just cool. Really cool. And I loved awesome. I'm going to give you 10 years of therapy in 3 minutes. That was one of my favorite lines. But just great movie. Great movie.
Yeah, that was a good one. Good.
Trying to think of other movies. Molly's Game was great. I love, you know what I saw that's an old one, but a good one. I rewatched, well, you know, I like silly. I like happy.
Yes.
I rewatched Beyonce and Steve Martin in Pink Panther. And that was gosh. So like if you need an old one that's so silly and so good, watch that one.
That one is a good one. Corey just watched that one within the last 6 months as well. He loves those. So
if you need to like not be sad, if you're 7 and you need to not be sad, that'll do it.
That's a good one for sure. Okay, I love how you shared that you asked Chris for a compliment within the last 24 hours. So aside from that, what has like made you laugh or filled your cup in the last day or so?
You know, a beach walk always does it. I live in South Florida. And so the beach is like 15 minutes, but just like anyone, we all live near beautiful things. Wherever you live, you have something. Yeah. And if you live there, you kind of grow accustomed and you don't go do it. And so lately I'm like, no, I'm going to go do it. Like, you know, and so I drove over and I just went for a walk actually this morning, and just that always will put me in a great mood.
Good for you. Yeah, that is, you know, that's my happy place too. So, and you and I have gotten to go on a beach walk together, which is so lovely. Yeah.
That'll fill my cup. What else? You know what? I started taking tennis lessons recently. Ooh. That's the other thing. A lot of college moms, once their kids are going to college, I have friends that started taking piano lessons. I had friends that started you know, like doing different things, like getting into like someone's taking Portuguese.
Oh my gosh.
Learn a new language. So that's what's interesting. And what's wonderful about when you launch a kid to college is you do have more time for your other kids, but you also have a little more time for yourself. Our baby's 11. So most of them can do their homework on their own at night. Yeah. And so I can read a book or actually a cheesy book I'm reading right now, which is very good, is To All the Boys I've Ever Loved.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a Netflix series. I haven't watched the series. It's very
I've watched the series. I haven't read the book. So
very cheesy teen drama, but cute. And she's half Asian. So my kids are half Asian. So I like that part. So yeah. So, but you can read a book, you can take piano lessons, you can take tennis lessons. So I started taking tennis lessons one night a week and I love it. Good. I'm horrible. It's humiliating, but it's good exercise at night. And it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, and I think we were talking earlier before we started recording about Annie F. Downs, and she always talks about how you have to just, you know, put yourself out there and be an amateur at trying something new. Be an amateur at sports. So I love that.
Yes. And at some point, right, you got to I have to not care so much about what everyone thinks and just kind of of course I'm not good. I've literally never done this.
That's right. Yep. Gotta allow yourself to try it. So yay. Yeah. So good. Thank you so much for joining us for Courage Becomes Her and sharing your acts of courage of launching your first kiddo. So such a good season. Beautiful season.
Thank you so much, Laura, for having me. It was really a treat.
Yes, it was. It was a treat to see you. Thank you so much. What a beautiful and lovely conversation. I'm so grateful for Stephanie's vulnerability and willingness to be open and honest and just to share her heart with us, even though it's a little bit hard sometimes. So this has been a difficult, obviously, transition for her and her family as they have navigated sending James, the oldest, off to college. But I love and appreciate the insights and the wisdom that she shared for not only how to navigate it from a practical perspective and making the transition as good as possible for the 3 kids who are still at home, but also what it looks like for her and her identity and just taking care of herself in a season that has so many emotions and newness to it. So I hope that you walked away with some really good insights from what Stephanie shared, but I would definitely ask you to think about, is there an area in your life where you need to allow yourself to grieve or give yourself permission to feel the awkward feelings or uncomfortable feelings and just to allow yourself to sit in the hard? What an honor to help you to cultivate confidence, courage, and joy in your life and work. Thank you so much for inviting me to journey with you. I look forward to being back with you next week, where we'll hear another story from a woman whom I love and am inspired by and look forward to learning from.